Honestly, my latest experiment on ChatGPT really blew my mind. I wanted to see if we can create an assessment using ChatGPT, not just any assessment. I wanted to see if it can create a rubric to score a written submission, like an assignment, and then actually do the scoring itself. So let me show you what I did. As usual, I'm going to start by giving ChatGPT instructions as a persona. So again, I'm using the persona pattern, and I'm starting by saying act as a learning and development consultant. This is the persona. I am creating a curriculum on the foundations of research. I want to assess students on writing good hypothesis statements. To start with, help me by writing 5 criteria for what makes a good hypothesis statement. We will use these criteria later to assess students. Okay, let's see what the ChatGPT comes up with. It defines 5 criteria: clarity and specificity, and it gives a good description of that. You're welcome to pause the video here if you want to go in more detail or look at more detail of what it actually recommends. The 5 criteria: clarity and specificity, testability, falsifiability, interesting, relevance to research question, and grounded in theory on or previous research. Okay, it sounds like overall these are good criteria for looking at the quality of a research hypothesis. Next, I want to now actually ask it to create a rubric. So for those of you who don't know what a rubric is typically a table that helps assessors define how good the outcome is that a student is producing. So it defines what is good or not acceptable, and what is acceptable and what is excellent, and so on. So let's see how ChatGPT deals with this. Right. It does what I'm looking for. I wonder if it will actually give it to me in a table format. Please produce this in a rubric table format. Fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted. So it gives me a typical rubric table, and this is what assessors would typically use to assess a submission as fairly and as objectively as possible. So I can look at a submission and say, right, for clarity and specificity, what does excellence look like? Excellence look like the hypothesis statement is exceptionally clear and specific, leaving no room for ambiguity. It precisely articulates the relationship between variables and the expected outcome. And poor, for example, says the hypothesis statement is unclear and lacks specificity, making it difficult to understand the relationship between variables and the expected outcome. Great, so this is exactly what I expect a rubric to be. Again, you're welcome to pause the video and look at the details. Let me just scroll through this a little bit slow so you have places to pause on. Clarity and specificity, testability, falsifiability, relevance to research question, and grounded in theory or previous research. Do you think if we now give it a submission, it will be able to actually score that submission against these criteria? Let's give it a try. You should be able to now give it the input to score in either a document that you upload, or you can just paste something here. So I just pre-wrote a research hypothesis, and I'll paste it in here. And this research hypothesis is about looking at the effects of cloud seeding on the weather patterns of the UAE. So cloud seeding practices in the UAE's Western Hajar Mountains will directly increase ground erosion over a 5-year period. This effect is hypothesized to be caused by the increased intensity and duration of rainfall events following cloud seeding. So that's a hypothesis that we want to test, and I want ChatGPT to now score this research statement based on the actual rubric that we created, or that ChatGPT created. Let's see how it goes. Right, it gives me good qualitative feedback. Hypothesis statement appears to be well structured and provides a clear prediction regarding the potential impact of cloud seeding practices. Let's evaluate it using the assessment criteria. Great, so it takes the assessment criteria and gives an evaluation. Statement is clear and specific, articulating the relationship between cloud seeding practices and ground erosion over a 5-year period in the mentioned geographical area. It's giving me an excellent rating. On the second one, it's also giving me an excellent rating, 3 an excellent rating, 4 an excellent rating, and 5 an excellent rating. Wow, I did almost too well. I'm going to try just actually something interesting. So let's ask it to be a little bit stricter on the criteria. I'm just going to do it as simple as that. Let's see what it does. And it now basically gives me good for the first 4, and the 5th element it rates me as fair. And again, it gives me qualitative feedback. Again, please pause the video, go through this at your leisure, and let me know what you think if ChatGPT was able to give us a good result. At the very least, I believe it is very helpful. It can help us in creating the assessments, in creating the rubric. It can help us in actually giving qualitative feedback, and it can reduce the workload for assessors a lot. But I do think human intervention on these assessments and the quality and the judgment of these assessments should still be applied in this context. If you find these videos helpful, please let me know, comment, hit the bell button, subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when I release the next video. And by the way, use the comments to make suggestions. If there's anything that you have played with that you found very interesting, that you think we should cover here, or you just have an idea that we should experiment with, let me know.